Welcome in, guys. It is Brad with College SportsCast, and we are a day late, but not a dollar short with our game day pick'ems. And we're going to be discussing Nick Saban and all that's going on with college football. So hang with us.
What's up, man?
All right, man. Welcome back. What's up, Hammonds?
What's up, my man?
Man, I had a great night last night. I got to go to Rupp, set courtside, basically under the basket. It's a girls' game. We're going women's games here, but it was fantastic to be able to be there, to be courtside at Rupp. I mean, honestly, for this old dude right here, it's kind of a dream come true. So it was fun to do, and forward to the next one. I'm hoping to be able to finish this season out. A home schedule. There's not but 6 more home games, I think, this year, something like that. And being able to
Have you seen the new remodeled Memorial Gymnasium?
I have not. I haven't seen any.
Somebody had posted a picture of it, I think, on one of the message boards on Kentucky basketball.
Yeah,
and it's really nice. They have upgraded the arena, the facilities, and it's a really nice place that they fixed to it.
It's not done yet.
No,
it's supposed to be done towards the end of before the start of next.
But the things, the texture around it, just some of the things that they fixed on it, it looks like a brand new facility, to be honest.
Cool. Yeah.
So,
I'm excited about covering the women. I've been around girls and women's basketball basically all my life. I had a sister that was very good, actually a younger sister that was very good. Went to state. My younger sister did. So we're a basketball family, but so I'm enjoying it, and I love being a part of Kentucky. And I just, I'm very thankful. Cammie Moore, I told you in person, I've told you in email, I've told you in text how much I appreciate the opportunity. So I just want you to know, if you ever watch the show, you see this one, I'm telling you on the show, Cammie Moore, I appreciate it. Thank you so much for the opportunity. So with that said, we are here to do our game day pick'ems. John, do you want to start with that, or you want to start with all the Saban news and do all that?
Well, let's just do the pick'ems first, and then we'll kind of get into the Kalen Deboer and the whole Saban deal and whatnot, and we can just go right into our picks real quick, and then we can talk a little bit about what's happening in the football world, which is wild.
I got a few topics,
by the way.
I got a few topics that we're gonna get into for football stuff as well, but we will start. These are all Saturday games. I've got 8 games on the board for us to discuss, and because we're doing these Friday night instead of Thursday night, there are spreads on DraftKings. So I have the lines up there as well, the spreads for each game. So the Kentucky Texas A&M game at A&M. A&M is a 1.5 point favorite just like a couple hours ago when I looked.
I think it was 2 when it started out. I think, and I think it went down 1. So, listen, we're big Kentucky fans, and a lot of times we're homers, and we're gonna cheer for our team. And at the end of the day, we have to take our fandom aside and just cover the game. So I'm going to say it from this angle with this game. Wade Taylor is not going to have back-to-back games where he struggles. He's just not going to. He's too good of a guard. He's a great player. They got Tyrese Radford.
Everybody steps up, John, when they play Kentucky.
That's true. And the biggest thing with A&M, I think, is they're missing Julian Marble in the middle. I think he's a big piece for them. I will say this: Kentucky better be ready to strap the boots up, because A&M is going to put some D on them. This might be the first test defensively that Kentucky's faced all season long. Can these young cats figure it out on the road yet again, like they did last week against Florida? That's the big question. Can they go into Reed Arena?
There's two things that A&M does really well. That's pressure defense, defensively, and they can rebound the ball really, really well. Offensive rebound.
The reasoning for the offensive rebounds because they don't shoot the ball very well. So I'm going to tell you, as much as I want to pick A&M, this ain't your normal Kentucky freshman. Until they prove me wrong, and until they give me a reason not to trust them, I'm taking the Cats on the road at Reed Arena. Now, there's a lot of people say, well, this is the game that I thought they would lose. No, the game that I think most likely coming up is the Auburn game. I think the Auburn game is more closer to losing than this one, because going to the jungle is tough.
Yeah, I kind of agree with that.
Now,
I mean,
this is a tough place too.
It is. It's a tough place to play.
But here's the thing: when your back's against the wall, you got 1 or 2 options. You can lay down and quit, or you can come out with some energy and fire and some momentum and do some things that you haven't done recently. And that's basically where Texas A&M is at. Their backs are against the wall right now because they're 0-2 in conference play, a loss tomorrow, and they're 0-3 in conference, and most likely takes them out of the running for the SEC title regular season, unless they go on a big run.
Let's be honest, John. A&M's got more issues than worrying about an SEC title.
They do. I agree. Their
shooting's not. A&M needs to be worried about getting eligible for the NCAA tournament first.
I agree with you. I think tomorrow is a crucial game. I'll say that from their end. Tomorrow is a crucial game for them. I don't think it's crucial for Kentucky because Kentucky they're playing really well right now. A&M is in back to the wall mode.
They are. I think that's sometimes pretty dangerous.
It is. It's a dangerous combination.
Yeah, because they do have talent. Wade Taylor is one of the best guards in the SEC.
And you got to remember they got Tyrese Radford from Virginia Tech, that transfer from there. He's a really and if I'm not mistaken, I think he played for Buzz at Virginia Tech back in the day. So this is a must-win game for A&M. I think they got to win it. They got to have it. But until I don't trust what Kentucky does on the road, last week against Florida, they was down 13 points, and they just grinded the whole second half, and they just
impressed. I was pretty impressed.
That's where I'm getting this from.
Yeah,
a bunch of freshmen go on the road, and they grind out a win in a hostile environment in the O-Dome. That's huge. And that's why I think they win tomorrow.
I'm with you on this. So here's my deal. I will say this. as a Kentucky fan and as an analysis here, I am worried about the 3 spot and the 5 spot on this Kentucky team. The 3 spot, the last 2-3 games, Adu Thiero has been out. He has not been playing.
Well, he's a more physical kind of guard that can handle this kind of game.
And Justin Edwards just hasn't come on yet. And we are 14 games into the season. This will be the 15th game. And I'll be honest with you, John, I'm beginning to worry about that position. We're getting very little. The last 2 games, Justin Edwards has scored 6 and 4 points. And we are getting very, very, very little out of the 3 spot. Okay.
Oh, I'm not denying it. I'm not denying it.
I will give you that we have 4 really, really good guards. Okay. In Wagner and Reeves and Dillingham and Shepard. Okay. But they're not always on. Not all 4 of them.
No.
The other night, it was Dillingham and Wagner. Reeves was kind of off. Shepard was kind of off.
I will say this about Justin Edwards. If it ever clicks for him, this Kentucky team can go pretty deep.
And the 5 spot, I will give Bradshaw a little bit of credit. He scored 10 points and about 6 rebounds the last 2 games. He come on late and actually helped us win the Florida game on the road. But before that, he was doing nothing and looked awful. Okay?
Well, and two, Adu Thiero, when it comes to this kind of game, this is the kind of game that it benefits him because he's a physical guard. He's a guy that can go back and forth with A&M the way they're
listen, I agree with you. If it was me now, I'm putting this out there. I think this team is going to need something from the 3 spot going up against some of these better teams across the country.
I'm going to say this.
One worry about this.
I'll say this, and we'll move on to the next game. But if Kentucky can go on the road tomorrow and beat A&M in a hostile environment like they did against Florida, there's going to be a lot of people saying this Kentucky team's legit because a lot of freshmen don't go into hostile environments and win back-to-back games. I agree with you.
I am picking Kentucky to win in this game as well. I think the way A&M has played and the way Kentucky has played, I think Kentucky should go there and win. It will be a very tight, close, tough game. They will play great defense.
Well, and the officiating will be close to the
probably lean towards them. It's that way in the SEC. It's just
and it's not just that; it's the physical play. The referees it'll be close to the vest.
Yeah, I expect that in the SEC. And here's the deal: I think Kentucky and these guys and these players, with the way they have played, can pull this game out. And that's where I'll leave it. But for the future references, I think this team is going to need some play from the 3 spot. You play against Dalton Connect, and I think you're going to need to match some stuff out of the 3 spot. I really do.
Especially on the road against some of the better teams in the SEC.
I mean, I'm just saying, down the road, that's going to be an Achilles heel of this team if it doesn't get fixed. And everybody knows who I'm really rooting for. So, but I'm just saying, as an analysis, that's my analysis.
Yep.
All right. So again, these are all Saturday games. We got Oklahoma at Kansas. Kansas is a 5.5-point favorite in this game. And coming off of a loss to UCF. Actually, it was UCF's very first Big 12 win.
I want to tell you, the last few games, Kansas has not looked like Kansas. They struggled against TCU. And everybody knows they got a controversial call at the end of the game that kind of went Kansas's way in the fog. Then they went on the road. If I'm not mistaken, they was up double digits at UCF, and UCF come back and won. So
in the first half, they were up at like 8 at halftime.
Bill Self is a Hall of Fame coach, and he is not going to let back-to-back games where they played like this enter into this game. I love Javion McCollum for Oklahoma, but I think that DeJuan Harris is going to put some D on him tomorrow. I think Kansas wins in the fog tomorrow. Kansas ain't going to play bad like this back to back. They're just too good. They got too many great players. The McCullough is playing pretty good. Hunter Dickinson is. DeJuan Harris, I think, needs to step up a little bit. They got a really good team. Timberlake, you got Timberlake out there that's playing better lately. I think he's the Towson transfer. So they got a really good team. The biggest issue with Kansas going forward, though, is their depth. They don't have a lot of depth. They don't have a lot. If one of them gets in foul trouble, where do they go to? And my biggest thing with Kansas is if Hunter Dickinson is your best three-point shooter, that's a problem, especially in the NCAA tournament. You got to have some other options to go to. But I think Kansas wins this game. I think they cover the 5.5. I'll be honest with you, Oklahoma probably runs into a buzzsaw tomorrow in the fog.
Yeah, I mean, with Kansas coming off of this loss, it's hard for me to imagine that they're going to lose 2 in a row, especially this one being at home.
Well, they beat TCU. They did beat TCU, but there was spurts in there where they didn't play as good. Well,
but they lost their last game against UCF.
Well, and to be fair, in that TCU game, TCU was shooting 80-something percent, 70-something percent from the field too. So it was an anomaly. Yeah. Like a lot of teams ain't gonna shoot like that.
Imagine that Kansas is going to lose 2 in a row here.
Yeah, I don't see it. I don't see it happening this week.
The 5.5 points. The 5.5 points. Oklahoma's played really, really well.
And Porter Moser,
this season, I think they're ranked 10th this week.
Porter Moser's a good coach. He coached Loyola Chicago, took them to the Final Four in that great run with Sister Jean. If you remember Sister Jean, she was the talk of the tournament. So he gets them to play hard. They play good defense. Yeah. I think they're running into a problem tomorrow with Kansas because Kansas ain't going to lose 2 straight.
Yeah, my thing here is the 5.5 points. I'm debating whether they cover or whether they don't. I mean, that's kind of my thing here. Coming off the loss, I am going to pick them to cover this at home, though. I think.
Yeah, I agree with you.
All right, so here we got another Houston who is also coming off of their first loss.
Man, what a wild week, right?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of these teams, we hope that Kentucky don't follow suit and lose because a lot of the top teams and stuff has lost. Houston
claim another victim. There'll be another victim. There'll be another victim claimed on Saturday.
Yeah, so they're a 5.5-point favorite at TCU, and we just talked about how TCU played Kansas. So, what do you think in this game?
Man, TCU. Well, we watched them last week. They almost beat Kansas on the road. They played really well, shot the ball really well. Houston did not look good at all against Iowa State. And not many teams do, especially at Hilton Coliseum, aka Hilton Magic. Some crazy stuff happens at that arena. Every team that goes into there in the Big 12, we've seen it over and over and over. Kansas is winning there and lost. Baylor's winning there and lost. It's an incredible environment. This is an opportunity for Houston to bounce back and get a win. But I will say this won't be an easy game in terms of where they was at against Iowa State. Houston's going to find out. Road in the Big 12 is not an easy thing compared.
It's not going to be an easy. Houston's not used to playing in the Big 12 like this.
No, they're not, and they're used to playing the AAC with Memphis and some of the others, Wichita State. This is a different animal.
This is big step up.
It's a big step up for Houston, but I think Houston covers this game. I think they got the guards to win this game. TCU's really good though at home. They've won some big games there too with Jamie Dixon.
They are, and that makes me think the 5.5 points that I'm going to take TCU and take the 5.5 points in this game because they play really, really well at home, and Houston seems to struggle a little bit more on the road, like scoring. Like if they have 50 or 60 points in this game, it'll probably be a lot.
And I want to be honest with you. They got a really good player, Emmanuel Miller. TCU's got a good team. They got Emmanuel Miller, Micah Peavy in the middle. He's a solid role player for
Houston
the TCU.
Is an absolute beast of a defensive team, okay? And they're hard to score on.
Yeah.
And I think it's going to be a close game. I just don't see it being.
You got to think here. Travion Tennyson, he's new with TCU. He's a transfer from Texas A&M Corpus Christi. I think didn't they go to the tournament last year? Yeah, that's right. And so they got a really good team. This won't be no cakewalk for Houston tomorrow night. Houston's going to have to play their game to win this game.
I will say this. I'm going to finish on this. So if you guys don't know how to defend the pick and roll, watch Houston. The way they do it, it's to the T. Watch Houston.
To the T,
how
brother.
they defend the pick and roll. You know how teams nowadays are like calling the big man to come out on the point guard and setting that. Houston teams don't do that against Houston because Houston is eating them alive on defense the way they are defending the pick and roll.
Yep.
Just want to throw that out.
Micah Peavy's really good too, though. Oh man, he's good.
They're eating people alive. I'm telling you.
Yeah.
Just the way they're doing it is textbook. I'm telling you. So, all right, the next game we're going to talk about, and this one was kind of hard for me to put on there. I'm just going to be honest with you guys. It's St. John's and Creighton. And, John, I'm going to let you mostly have this one, okay? Creighton is a 7.5 point favorite. And I think you know why I'm saying this. So,
yeah, because of Rick Pitino, I know. Yep. Yep. Listen.
You just don't know, John.
St. John's. You want to know how crazy this season is right now? St. John's
had 0 players after he was hired, by the way. They all left.
St. John's and Seton Hall is tied for first in the Big East, and UConn is behind them. Now, talk about a crazy season in college basketball. St. John's press is about as good as anybody I've ever seen. They got a really fun team. They get after the basketball.
That's Pitino. Listen,
that's the way he does.
Pitino's a good coach.
Played that way at Kentucky. Played that way at
Louisville. To be quite honest.
Played that way at Iona. So he's always got a team that presses.
I just despise the human being that he became.
But Creighton on the other side. Ryan Kalkbrenner is really good. You got the Baylor Shireman, might be one of the best shooters in the Big East. When Creighton is playing their game and when they're doing the things that they do well, Creighton's hard to beat at home. And, man, I hate to go against St. John's because, they're a really fun team to watch. But the Big East is going to eat each other alive this year. That might be the best league next to the Big 12,
Big 12
in college
Big
basketball.
East. Yeah, it might be.
Every night on the road is going to be a beast. Every night on the road is going to be a tough tussle. But I've got Creighton in this game. But I do think St. John's covers the 7.5. Creighton has little spurts where they don't look great at all, and then they look like they're unstoppable. You just don't know what you're going to get with this Creighton team. It varies from game to game.
I'm going to be honest with you guys on this one, okay? This one for me, I just simply can't go one way, okay? I just can't. I'm going Creighton all day long. I don't care. I can't do it. I am on record saying that man should not be coaching college kids anymore, period. Zero, nada. If he wants to go to the pros and let happen some of the things that he let happen and go to the pros with grown-ass men and do that, that is fine. But I'm going to tell you guys right now, there is no son of mine that's going to go play for that man. There's no 18, 19-year-old kid of mine that's going to go play for that man. That's just how I feel about it.
You've given us even in the past, you've given me your opinion on it.
I'm telling you, there's no son of mine that's going to go play for that man.
On to the next one.
I'm just saying, guys,
goodness.
I have some strong feelings on that one. All right. This one also includes a Patino, by the way. We got San Diego State at New Mexico. New Mexico is a 2-point favorite at home.
Yeah.
And this one includes his son, Richard Patino, as the head coach of New Mexico.
I want to tell you something. This might be the most underrated league in college basketball. You got Nevada, you got New Mexico, you got San Diego State, you got Utah State. You even got Boise State playing really well right now. And even on some off nights, San Jose State is a really good team to watch play in the Mountain West. The Aztecs this year, to me, they're better offensively than they were a year ago. They got Jaden Ledee. He's got a lot of offensive production. Brian Dutcher's team isn't quite as good defensively as they were a year ago, but they are very good on that end of the floor. This game will be played in the pit. And I think New Mexico's dropped the 2 of their last 3 games.
They were doing great. And then the league started.
I think New Mexico will battle this game, but I think San Diego State's experience and the way they play on defense is going to grind out a road win here. But I will say this. The pit is a really hard place to play. The fans are right on top of you. And listen, New Mexico's got some really great guards. Jalen House is really good. Jamal Mashburn. And if you've never heard of Donovan Dent, I suggest you turn in to 2 o'clock on tomorrow afternoon on CBS and watch this kid play basketball. He's an absolute treat to watch play basketball. He is one of the best players in the Mountain West, I think, that don't get no love whatsoever in the national media.
But I'm going to tell you, John, they folded at the end of the season last year, and then the beginning of the Mountain West this year, they're struggling again. And I'm beginning to wonder, is this going to be a carryover from what happened at the last 6-8 games last year?
I said this in a space a couple of nights ago about New Mexico. They have too many guys trying to play hero ball. They try to do too much one-on-one stuff, and that's not going to work against San Diego State because they're going to get in the passing lanes. They're going to force turnovers. They're going to make plays in the defensive end, and they're going to get out and run and do what they do, especially offensively with Ledee and with Donovan Dent and the team that they got. This is a really good San Diego State team, and what many don't realize, this same San Diego State team went to the national championship last year. Brian Dutcher is one of the most underrated coaches in college basketball. He's really
minus
he's a really
a player
good
or two. Keyshawn Johnson's playing at Arizona.
Yeah, Arizona transfer.
Yeah.
So this is a really good, fun team to watch.
But okay.
Overall, though, the Mountain West is fun to watch. Period.
Is a fantastic place to watch a ball game. I really like. Listen, Jamal Mashburn was one of my favorite players. Still is one of my favorite players of all time. And his son is out there. I really would like to see them make a run in the tournament. They missed it last year by playing.
It seems like they get really close and then they just fall apart when the season.
I know. And then they started well, and now they're kind of reeling again. They get this game at home. This is a game they must win. I'm going to ride with the Lobos here at 2 points at home in a tough game here. All right, I'm going to ride with the Lobos.
I'm riding with the Aztecs.
Okay, I'm going to
go San Diego State. Go San Diego State.
Go Monster Max, baby. That's all I'm going to say.
Yeah.
All right. This one, we got Syracuse at UNC. UNC is a 13-point favorite. But Syracuse is like 11-4, 11-3, something like that on the season. They have been playing a lot better under the new coach, Autry. So
here's what I think. Here's what I think. North Carolina might be the best team in the ACC. They've looked like it over the last month. They're ranked 10th in KenPom, 9th in the NCAA in net rankings. They're coming off a big road win last week against, or actually Wednesday against NC State to win their 5th straight game. North Carolina had lost 2 straight to UConn and get away from home before those. And you know what they're doing? They're winning with defense. Who would ever thought that? They're winning these games with defense. North Carolina's primarily an up-and-down pace team, but they're winning games with defense. R.J. Davis might be one of the best players in the country. Harrison Ingram is playing really well. Baycock is a real big piece in the middle. But I'm going to tell you something.
Josh, I'm laughing.
This is a lot of points for me to lay against a very solid Syracuse team.
It is a lot of points to lay. I think it is too.
Autry's he's brought that Syracuse team to the forefront, and they're playing really good basketball right now. Now, they haven't really played stiff competition, but they're going to step up a notch tomorrow when they go to North Carolina. This is a talented Syracuse team. They got a very good player in Judah Mintz. I think this is going to be similar to the Florida State game that North Carolina had just recently, where they won as a 12.5-point favorite, where they won by 8, I believe. North Carolina's tough to beat at home. But I do think that Syracuse covers this game. This is a better Syracuse team. Now, I'm not saying they're going to make the tournament, whatnot like that, but he's building a culture there. He's doing some good things, Autry. If you don't remember who he was, he played on the teams with Lawrence Moulton that played in Syracuse in the early 90s. They had some really good teams.
Yeah, they did. Absolutely.
Jackson was on that team too. They had a really good team. They almost beat Arkansas back early in the 90. I think it was the 94 tournament. They got beat on the last, I think it was a technical or something early in the second round. But he's building a culture there, and they got a good team. But it's just not going to be enough tomorrow to beat North Carolina.
Yeah, I mean, I think in this one, John, I think North Carolina is probably clearly the better team here. I do think the 13 points is a little scary on this one. But R.J. Davis is playing out of his mind.
He is.
And, North Carolina is looking really good, to be quite honest with you. I'm gonna.
If you go by the if you really go by the eye test, which we don't go by the eye test, we go by metrics now. But if you go by eye test, North Carolina might be your best team in the country right now. That's playing the best.
They are playing really well right now, and I never thought, honestly, after the way they looked and played last year, I'll be honest with you. At the end of the season last year, I thought Davis was done. I thought Coach was done. Like I did. I really thought.
To be fair, I think there was a mixture there with Caleb Love and RJ Davis that just did not click. And I think it was better for both parties, where Caleb Love is now in Arizona and RJ Davis came back to North Carolina. I think it was best for both parties. And I think both of them were benefiting from where they went and transferring to.
I'm laughing at Josh Hart. That's who I'm laughing at. he's putting comments in. I'm laughing at him. But I think I'm going to go North Carolina in this one. Like they've been playing really, really well. So, all right, the next one we're going to talk about is Cincinnati at Baylor. Cincinnati has started out in the Big 12 and won a game or two. Beat BYU on the road.
Texas.
Huh?
They should have beat Texas.
Should have beat Texas. They were right there. Should have beat Texas. So Cincinnati has been playing some pretty good ball. I watched the BYU game. I watched a little bit of the Texas game. What do you think about this one, John? Baylor's a 6.5-point favorite at home.
I don't like this game for a lot of reasons, because Baylor is really good at guard play. And Cincinnati is not as good up front as Baylor is in the guard position. Playing at Baylor might be one of the hardest places to play in college basketball. It's a grind, man. Going to Baylor and having to win on the road. There's very few teams that's went to Baylor and won on the road in the Big 12. Very few. And if my numbers correct me right, Kansas might have been one of them. I can't remember, but it's a very tough environment to play in, which Cincinnati's doing a lot better this year. And they got a really good team. I mean, they beat – who was it they beat a couple Saturdays ago? I can't remember. Was it BYU? Is that what you said?
They come back. They were down at halftime and come back at Provo.
Yeah, it was BYU. That's who they beat. So I don't like Cincinnati on the road here. I just don't.
It's not a tough place to play. Provo's a tough place to play.
Well, it is. It is. Well, and Cincinnati's got a couple of great players. They got Day Thomas at guard. He's a really good player. And they got a guy by the name of Jizzle James. If you've never heard of Jizzle James, you need to watch him play, man. He's Edgerrin James' son, former Indianapolis coach, running back. He's a really good basketball player. He took over that BYU game. He's a really good, fun player to watch.
I mean, here, I think I'm going to go Baylor, but I have watched Cincinnati a couple of times, and I'll be honest with you, like they're better than what I think people are going to give them credit for.
I agree with you.
Josh. I don't get butthurt. I don't know what you're talking about. I just win. That's all.
Yeah.
Oh, me. I'm sorry. All right.
We get on track here, boys.
This is the 8th and last one. These are all Saturday games. Tennessee plays at Georgia. Tennessee is also coming off of a loss here earlier this week. They're a 7-point favorite, and I don't know if too many people realize this, but Georgia is 12-3. They've started 2-0 in the SEC,
I'm gonna say this. This might be the
Just saying,
loudest.
Mike White's got them playing some ball.
This might be the loudest Stegman Coliseum has been in over 5 or 6 years come Saturday afternoon. You know, my biggest thing with Tennessee is they're not a real good, efficient shooting team. They're only shooting 43% and 33% from deep. This is ideal for Georgia because they have a really good defense. I think they're holding opponents to 39%. That's one of the best when it comes to defending the three. And each of the 4 losses that Tennessee has had have been by 4 or more points. And every time they stepped up in competition, they've lost. Purdue, Kansas, North Carolina. They lost to a really good Mississippi State team that plays really good defense. And Georgia has won 10 in a row, for those that don't know. Mike White might be my SEC Coach of the Year.
They're 12-3.
They're a really good team to watch.
They are.
They're fun to watch, and they play to their style. The way they play basketball, they're not going to overpower you, but they're just going to play street ball. They're going to play in your face defense. Noah Thomason.
He's got some really good guards. A couple of really good guards.
Noah Thomason is really, really good for Georgia. My biggest thing in this matchup is Dalton Connect. He's going to have to step up in this game. Josiah Jordan-James has not played good at all, right? Recently.
Yeah, but see, I don't know how much more Dalton Connect can step up. I mean,
that's the thing.
He had like 27 or 30 or something the other night, and they still lose because they can't get production elsewhere.
Here's the difference between Tennessee at home and Tennessee on the road. When Tennessee's at home, they can't miss. When Tennessee's on the road, they struggle to get to 50 points.
That's because
it's a Rick Barnes. It's a Rick Barnes style thing.
Rims are bigger.
Yeah. Listen.
They cheat.
Until Tennessee can prove to me
I'm kidding you.
They can make it past the Sweet 16, round of 32. I just don't trust this team. I don't trust this team to win 6 games or 5 games to get to the Final Four with the offense that they got. One man cannot do it all night long. Dalton Connect cannot do it himself. There has to be other guys that step up to make plays for him.
Tennessee stretches the rims, I'm telling you. All right. I'm just messing, y'all. Just messing. All right. This game, Tennessee's coming off of a tough loss at Mississippi State. Mississippi State was starting Tolo Smith for the very first time this year. He had been back a few games, but now he was in the starting lineup. He played the most minutes he had played all year, coming back from an injury, and they won at home in a big game. So, you know, Tennessee, that's their 4th loss.
Yeah,
I think that was their 4th loss.
It was the 4th, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you know, they're in a tough spot. You know, this is a game they need to go to Georgia and win. 7 points seems like quite a bit. And I will agree with you. They don't shoot the ball well on the road. And
the biggest thing I have with Tennessee is they go through a lot of droughts offensively. And that happens in the NCAA tournament, you'll be out. So
they do, you know. Yeah, Josh, I'm telling you, bunch of cheaters. I'm just messing, Tennessee Vol fans, just messing with you. We are rivals.
You'll be all over Twitter if you don't.
I don't care.
Vol Twitter
come after me. I'm just messing around and playing.
Vol Twitter is real, ladies and gentlemen.
I'm just messing with Vol. We are rivals, okay? Just messing with you. That's all. All right. with that said, that concludes what the games we're going to cover in college basketball. But there was some very, very, very big news that come out Wednesday afternoon about 2:00, 2:30 Central Time. The legend of Nick Saban retired from Alabama as the head coach. And
you know what's so impressive about him?
I lived in Alabama for a while. I have some really good friends that are Bama fans, and I have some really good friends that are Auburn fans. And I'm going to be honest with you, I had the Bama fans that were almost in tears, that were friends that are almost in tears. And then Auburn fans, they literally rolled Toomer's corner.
Yeah.
That happened. Just want y'all to know.
If I should tell you anything. See, here's the thing that, you know, Saban, he has 292 wins. That's the most among actual coaches.
I really thought he would go to 300. I thought for sure he was coming back for one.
And what many people don't realize
get 300
is he won a MAC championship with Toledo.
Yeah.
In 1990. Then he went on to Michigan State from 95 to 99. He went to LSU, won a championship there. He was there from 2000 to 04.
He coached 1 year at Toledo and left and went to the Cleveland Browns with.
Yeah, he went to the Cleveland Browns,
with Belichick.
And he also coached 4 Heisman Trophy winners. Mark Ingram, Derrick Henry, Devontae Smith, and Bryce Young. If that ain't impressive, ladies and gentlemen, that should tell you that not many people get to do that.
Let me tell you a couple of stats about Nick Saban at Alabama, okay? In 17 years at Alabama, there's only 2 teams that had more than 2 wins against him in 17 years. 2. That's it, guys. Auburn has 5 and LSU had 5. Nobody else had more than 2. And I'm going to give you another stat. The man coached over 230 ball games as the Alabama head coach. He only had 29 losses. 29 losses in 17 years.
You want to know another stat that'll blow your mind? Alabama has had at least 1 first-round pick in 15 straight drafts. He's had multiple first-rounders in 12 of those years.
I'm going to tell you another stat about Saban and Alabama, okay? He coached 17 years. Do you know that in 15 of those 17 years, and his first year, he went 7-6, okay, with a bad team building him up. In 15 of those 17 years, at some point in the season, every year, Alabama was ranked number 1 in the country. Every year.
And a reason why I feel like Saban retired, and it's been often told as of recent, was because of the NIL and the evolving change of college football. He said the way it's being ran now is completely different than it was when he was coaching Michigan State, LSU, and those teams when he started out early on in his career. It's a different ball game now. With the NIL, with everything that's happening. But what he's done, he's redefined the sport. Every person that's been on his staff has tried to emulate him. That's went on to other jobs. We can name them off one by one. Dabo Swinney, Lane Kiffin. There's a few others I'm not mentioning.
Sark's doing it. Jimbo tried to do it.
And they're just not going to be able to emulate what Nick Saban has done at Alabama because it's impossible.
But let me give y'all another caveat here about Nick Saban that I want to put in here. Man, he is such a great human being.
He is.
As well.
He is.
Like the stuff, like he truly cares about his guys. And he is such and Miss Terry, if you guys don't know some stories about Miss Terry is his wife, 50 some odd years. And like they together are, I mean, just immaculate people. Plain and simple.
Quick question, quick stat, another stat before we get on to something else here. Saban shoes are going to be hard to fill. And we've seen that, with the hiring today of Kalen Deboer, the former Washington coach.
We're going to get to Deboer.
We'll get to that. I think he did a great job. But here's a stat that really makes you think, man, Saban took over the whole college football world. 9 of the 68 coaches in Power Conference football are members of the Saban coaching tree.
Yep.
End of discussion.
Absolutely. I mean, and
on top of that,
Saban not only that, talking about what he done, but Saban actually saved coaches' careers. Look at
Sark, and 8 other former Saban assistants have been Power Conference coaches.
Yeah,
like head coaches.
Yeah, I mean, he revolutionized the game. I mean, if it wasn't for Nick Saban,
he made it to the point where you cannot outdo him. You have to. I don't know how to say it.
I mean, if it wasn't for Saban, John, we wouldn't have college football playoffs.
We wouldn't. No.
I'm
not saying you. What I'm trying to say is you can't follow in his footsteps, but you can do like some of these other coaches have done, like Lane Kiffin and Dabo Swinney, Jim McElwain, all these guys that have went on to coach for Saban. They can use some of what Saban's done and infiltrate that into their programs. And I think that's what they're doing with these coaches. I think that's what a lot of these coaches are doing. So, but it's never going to be emulated like Nick Saban himself.
Man,
that's what I'm trying to say.
This is coming from an absolute diehard Kentucky fan all my life, bleed blue, okay? But I did live in Alabama for 5.5, 6 years. And I saw up close and personal just how he ran his program, what kind of man he was, what kind of human being he was. On top of all the stuff about his coaching.
Mm-hmm.
And from me, from the bottom of my heart and soul and competitive spirit, man, I'm going to miss Nick Saban being in the game.
I'm going to miss him roaming the sidelines, I can tell you. His little antics and his screaming and pulling his headphones off. Now,
man, I'm going to miss Nick Saban being in the game.
I am too, my man. That leaves us to our next topic.
Yeah, our next one, of course, is Kalen Deboer, okay? Now, I want you guys to look at Kalen Deboer's week, okay? Like 4 nights ago, he was playing Michigan
for a national championship.
For the national championship game. And I don't think there was anybody in the country that thought 3.5 days later he's going to be the head coach of Alabama.
what's so impressive about Kalen Deboer?
His record?
So, okay, he really started from the bottom. Like, we're talking bottom. He coached the NAIA school.
He started
From there.
Yep.
He went to Southern Illinois, Eastern Michigan. He was at Fresno State as a coordinator. And where he really became known was when he was at Indiana, when he developed Michael Penix Jr. And he eventually went to Washington, and he had Michael Penix Jr. as his quarterback. DeBoer took the Fresno State job, I think, but he was hired away by Washington. What was it? 2 years later, I think it was.
Year and a half, 2 years later, yeah. He was there at
Washington,
Fresno State.
At Washington,
Really
these are stats that I just pulled up. At Washington, the Huskies with him at the helm was 25-3.
25-3. 25-3. He coached. He was an interim coach and coached half a season and took over at Fresno in the middle of the season. And
you know what I love about
he went 10-3 with Fresno and won a bowl game. And I'm going to say this, guys. Do you realize that the entire time he's been a head coach 9 years? DeBoer has, okay?
Yeah.
He's 105-12 in those 9 years. That's his record, guys. He has only one time in his coaching career has he not won 11 games in 9 seasons. 11.
And I'm going to tell you something. The biggest thing with Kalen DeBoer, I like that a lot of people have not really paid attention to.
I've been screaming Kalen DeBoer all season long on this show. I've been
is his
how great of a coach
flexibility.
he was.
It's his flexibility, the way he handles certain personnel. You know, he had Darius Jackson. Was it Darius Jackson? Yeah, and Shaq Van at Eastern Michigan. Like, those were some really good, talented players that he coached. And now he's going to get the opportunity to coach a top 10 Heisman vote getter in Jalen Milroe. And it's going to be fascinating to see how he coaches the quarterbacks and gets them to play together. And
I think it's an absolute – they knocked it out of the park here on this hire. There were some rumors, of course, about Dan Lanning. I think Kalen DeBoer is I would pick Kalen DeBoer over Dan Lanning all day, every day. I swear I would. He's beating 3 times in the last 2 years. Kalen DeBoer has beat Dan Lanning. I mean, I would.
What I love about him is he's just a winner. He's won everywhere he's went. He's won every place coached. I mean, you know, he went from –
There were some rumors last night that they were going to offer the job to Tommy Rees. And I'm sorry, I laughed and I said, there is no way in hell that's happening. I also heard some rumors. Somebody told me a couple nights ago they're going after Jimbo Fisher. And I laughed and I said, you guys have lost your mind.
Well, and the thing is, he went from I can't say it. Sioux Falls, the NAIA school. I can't say it.
He
went from there to Bloomington and to Seattle, and now back to Alabama. The biggest thing with Kalen DeBoer, I think, going forward is his adjustment, how he's going to recruit in the SEC. It's a different animal compared to the Pac-12.
When you're coming off a national championship game experience, you know.
Yeah, it changes things. I agree with you.
You know what I mean? And then all of a sudden you're the head coach.
But what I was getting at, the level of talent is different from Pac-12 to SEC. Games, you're going up against better coaches, better players. It's going to be a different
agree with that. I mean, absolutely.
Yeah.
It is.
But I think
I'm going to tell you,
slam dunk hire. I think it's a great fit for Alabama. I think what they're doing is the great thing. It's a big fit for Milroe, for the players that do come back and the players that probably most likely get in the transfer portal. I think I saw one earlier today where Isaiah Bond had got into the portal. And
Isaiah Bond hit the portal today.
Was,
that's what I was going to say.
And I think he was crystal ball to go to Texas. So he's going to have his hands full with trying to get some of these transfers back into the mix and get them back on the team and see how they can work with the coaches.
But now Isaiah Bond hit the portal before the announcement of Kalen Deboer.
He done it before the announcement happened. So yeah,
he done it before. So Josh, I was on board with Lane Kiffin. I had been saying for a couple of years I thought Kiffin was the heir apparent. I thought they were kind of grooming him to be the heir apparent.
Well, and for a while, many thought Dabo Swinney would go back home because it was when that
I never.
But when he was winning the championships, that's when they was talking about it more.
I know, but even then, I never was fully on board with the whole Dabo Swinney thing. But I'll be honest with you. I really felt like they were kind of grooming Lane Kiffin to be the heir apparent here. And I thought maybe he would be, but I will have to say that out of all the coaches in the land the last 2 years, outside of Saban and Jim Harbaugh, they got the best one.
They did. I agree.
Outside of Saban and Jim Harbaugh, they got the absolute best coach in the land.
Haven't you heard Jim Harbaugh's going to the Chargers?
I'm just saying.
Oh, that's the rumor going around. I had to poke some fun at Michigan fans a little bit.
Yeah, I've heard that. I actually said it on this show a couple of weeks ago.
I kind of want to do a final buzzer.
I'm not done yet. Okay. I got another one here. Okay. So Washington. Oh my Lord! Like the beginning of this week, they thought they were on top of the world, had a chance at a title, might win a title. They're headed to the Big Ten. They've got their man, they've got their coach, and then all of a sudden, bam! What is going to happen? Where they're headed to the Big Ten, guys, and they lost their guy. Like Kalen Deboer was going to keep them relevant in the Big Ten. I promise.
You know who my first call was made to?
Tell me. What do you think?
Jed Fish from Arizona. That's who I'm calling on the phone.
You know who my first call is going to be? He's right there at home.
Lincoln Riley.
Ryan Grubb.
Ryan Grubb.
Does anybody know who Ryan Grubb is? Just want to put this out there.
I know who Ryan.
Does anybody know who Ryan Grubb is?
He's the offensive coordinator and quarterbacks coach at Washington.
He's been Kalen Deboer's right-hand man at Sioux City Falls. He was there. He was there at Fresno. He was there at Washington. He's been his right-hand man and ran his offense the entire time. And if I'm Kalen Deboer right now, I'm in a war with bringing my offensive coordinator with me over him taking the head coaching job at Washington. And I'm just saying, I put this on here for that reason alone. They are headed to the Big Ten. And if I'm Washington, I'm throwing the bank at Ryan Grubb. And if I'm Kalen Deboer, I'm calling the Roll Tide people and saying, guys, you got to get my guy here.
Yeah.
Because he's been with him and ran his offense the entire time.
And I can hear it now. Alabama Willie. Blitz, playing a blitz. Roll Tide, roll.
I'm telling y'all right now, If you don't know the name, Ryan Grubb is his offensive coordinator and has been basically his entire time as a coach.
Well, it sort of reminds you of the whole Notre Dame situation with Marcus Freeman, where, Brian Kelly goes on to LSU and all the players wanted Marcus Freeman to stay at Notre Dame. So, but I feel like this is a bigger well, no, I wouldn't say that. It's not a bigger job, but it's a chance to get more relevant with them going to the Big Ten is what I'm trying to say. The Pac-12, you didn't really have a lot of eyes on it up until late in the year. What I mean, the last 3 or 4 years, it's just been the little league that sits outside the other Power 5 conferences, and it just doesn't feel like a big league. But now that they're moving into the Big Ten, there's going to be a lot of eyes on Washington, UCLA, and all these other teams, especially going forward with basketball and football.
Well, I mean, Washington had it all figured out, guys. Like Washington was jumping with Oregon. They had their guy. They had their winner, their coach that was going to carry them into the Big Ten and be relevant and make some noise in the Big Ten. And all of a sudden, in one afternoon, that's over with. Yeah. And what if Washington can't figure something out pretty quick? I'm going to be honest with you. I think they might be in trouble moving to the Big Ten.
Yeah, it's going to be tough.
Now, I gave you a name. If I was them, Ryan Grubb is the guy. I would keep that offense and that school and that as much as of that staff in play as I could. Mm-hmm. And I would go and offer Ryan Grubb. But if I'm also Kalen Deboer, I would do everything I could do to bring my guy with me.
Mm-hmm. By the way, Robert Morris just upset Purdue Fort Wayne in the Horizon League. That's a big upset in the mid-majors tonight. And I will say another thing. Dayton continues to win. They beat Duquesne on the road. Dayton's 12-2. And I'm going to say this on basketball real quick. If everybody knows, Dayton didn't get into the tournament in 2020, right? They got the coronavirus shut it down. I'm the biggest Dayton fan right now that you've ever seen because Dayton deserves another opportunity to do what they did that year, and they're doing the same thing this year in the Atlantic 10. They're 3-0 in conference play. If we're being honest, I think they're only a one big league. So
I don't think they're.
I'm really supporting Dayton this year.
Yeah,
going forward.
All right. The last thing I wanted to talk about, and it was announced yesterday evening, and it's actually a pretty big story. For the first time ever, the NCAA penalized a team for NIL violations, and these penalties are pretty significant. So it come out that there was a 3-game suspension for a assistant coach, and I thought, well, hell, that's nothing, But then I dug into it, and I was looking at these violations, are not the penalties that was put forth here, and there's a 2-year ban with an NIL collection. These collectives that they're doing, they can't even use a collective that they were doing at all. Okay. And on top of that, a booster that was using that collective also has a ban. And that booster can't do anything either for 2 years. They're losing scholarships because of this. They lose 5 scholarships, I think, over the next 2 years. Like, this was actually for a change. And And this was stuff that happened now. This is not stuff that happened 5 years ago with a different staff. The NCAA actually done something quick, decisive, and something that was like true penalties for the first time in years.
You know what I'm going to say here? You're not going to like this, and I might get censored over this, but that's okay because this is how I feel about the NCAA. I'm just going to straight up tell you. I think they pick and choose who they want to penalize.
I think so too, because there are other teams that are doing some of this
besides
just FSU.
And not to bring up basketball, you look at some of these transfers. Everybody's getting transferred in 5-6 year players, but yet they can't get a waiver to let Big Z play. That's a problem.
I mean, I agree with you. NCAA has been trash, but for the first time in a long time, it is, for me, it's good to see that they actually are going to maybe start trying to do something, and maybe not. Maybe they're just picking on FSU. I don't know. I mean, because with the NCAA,
for a long time, I always thought they just sit in their office and just read papers all day. Like,
listen, they don't seem to like FSU in football, and they sure as hell don't like Kentucky in basketball. So maybe they're just picking on the teams they don't like.
There's other teams they don't like either. They don't like North Carolina because you remember North Carolina got penalized that time in basketball. There's rules for thee, but not for rules for me, but not for thee is what I'm trying to say. Everybody, they pick and choose who they want to pick on and choose which violations they want to go run with. And to me, that's not fair.
Well, I agree with you 100%, John. But part of what I was saying with this is this. The NCAA had gotten to a point where they were just making rulings on shit that happened in 2017. I mean, it's ridiculous. Like, it would take them 5 damn years, 2 staffs ago, and then they're penalizing these schools. And it's absurd. This is stuff that was relevant, that was now, that was current, that was with this staff.
Well, and then on top of this,
a penalty that is correct. And I don't know that I've ever seen NCAA do that ever. I'm 49 years old. I have ever seen the NCAA levy a penalty that was actually freaking correct.
Well, and another thing too, if you didn't notice it the other day, this same thing happened, and then a story come out about Georgia driving drunk some of their staff members, and it took the pressure off FSU and put it on Georgia, which had happened. I think that had happened a while back, though.
It did.
It still was in the news. So
yeah.
So I want to do a final buzzer here.
All right.
Me and Brad are big NFL. We're big NFL guys. We love the NFL, and this weekend is kind of we got a little rivalry going. I'm a Cowboys fan. He's a Packers fan. And
he's scared. That's what it is.
And I'm not scared. I'm not. But I will say this: the Packers have owned the Cowboys in the playoffs, and we owe Mason Crosby a Cowboys win because of that crossbar shot. So that's basically what I wanted to say. And another thing, you don't have Aaron Rodgers now. You have Jordan Wright.
And you guys are the better team. And if y'all win, I will say, okay, y'all were the better team. But if y'all lose, I am gonna laugh my ass off.
I tell you, it never fails. It never fails. Every time Dallas loses, he finds a meme to get me with.
Oh,
he'll do it again.
I'm telling y'all right now, you ain't gonna hear the end of it on Sunday evening.
No, that's a fact. On top of this, I kind of wanted to go over a few games that was being played Saturday that we didn't go over. I'm just going to read off the games because it'd be a lot easier. Seton Hall plays Butler Saturday. They play at noon. Let me see. Detroit Mercy has a game at home, 0-17 against Northern Kentucky. Can they win a game this weekend?
They need all the mercy that they can get.
Exactly. Belmont, Indiana State plays this weekend. Will be a big fun game in the MVC. Let me see here. Xavier Providence is another game in the Big East that will be fun to watch. Two desperate teams going at it this weekend. Arkansas goes to Florida. I basically put it like this on this game. If Arkansas loses, they're not getting in the tournament. They'll be lucky to make it.
They may not.
Now, Florida, if Florida loses now, I could see a way for them to get in because they do have at least a couple of decent wins, which Arkansas does too. But the problem with Arkansas is they don't even look like a team.
No, the Arkansas, I don't know what has happened to Arkansas. I don't know what's happened to Musselman. I'm not sure what's going on down there, but they look like I think it's a Bobby Petrino curse is what I think.
I guess. LSU goes on the road to Auburn. Auburn's a 14-point favorite. LSU is 2-0 in SEC play, everybody. They beat Texas A&M, and then they beat Vanderbilt Wednesday night.
I mean, when you hire the guy that has the broken collar, neck, and beat up, and you hire that guy back, I mean, maybe you get what you deserve. There's not a real big slate this weekend, to be honest with you. There's just a few games here and there. I want to say one more thing, and we'll kind of log off for the night. USC lost one of their big men, Isaiah Collier. I heard all offseason, Bronny James is going to save the world. Bronny James is going to save the day. Well, Collier's a good player, though.
He's a good player. I'm not denying it. But Bronny James is not going to save this USC team.
No.
They're a dumpster fire right now.
Bronny James is not 6'8", 260 pounds.
He's not.
Okay.
And one more add to the college basketball thing. Gonzaga is not Gonzaga this year.
No, they're not either.
Yeah, they lost last night to Santa Clara. Gonzaga might not even win the Western
Gonzaga might not make the NCAA tournament.
They might have to win the West Coast
Speaking of Gonzaga, they will not be in the AP poll for the first time in like 144 weeks or something.
You wonder if JB Ricks is going to put Texas at number 1 this week. I had a joke about it with a bunch of the guys. There's a bunch of it in the group chat, college basketball. Yeah. Somebody said, wonder where JB Ricks, the AP voter, is going to have all of his teams lined up this year. I said Gonzaga is going to be at number 2 and Texas is going to be at number 1. But all joking aside, that's the part I don't like. A lot of these guys don't watch basketball. Like, a lot of them don't even watch the game. They just see the scores and they just start ranking teams. Like, I feel like you should have a privilege. That's a privilege to even do. And it should be used a little bit better. But
yeah, this is true.
That's my little rant on it. But
all right, guys, that has been our final buzzer. This has been a special Friday night edition. And I'm not so sure. I kind of like doing it on Friday night because the Saturday games got the line.
Who's the 49? Who's the 49ers? I don't know the 49ers.
I don't like them either. So
I don't even know who they are.
My two teams are the Packers and the Rams, and they both snuck in. And
Jerry's like later.
and I'd like to see them both. I think you're talking about the NFL for a minute. I think it's a really intriguing story to have Matthew Stafford going back to Detroit to play. I think that's a really intriguing story this weekend, and one that I'm just as much interested in that story as the Packers and Cowboys. I'm really
McCarthy and
I really don't feel that great about the game, but I will talk some smack.
Jerry says You might find out again, John, who the 49ers are.
Yeah.
Oh, Jerry. I love you, Jerry. It's been great tonight. We had a bunch of new people on. We had
several people with us.
We had 30 viewers at one point tonight.
Yeah, we had several people with us. So yeah, we had a lot of people on tonight. So we appreciate you guys.
Well, and you covering women's college basketball now. There's a lot more eyes on everything, and
we are.
You know, that's a good
we're
thing.
growing.
I got another thing. The 21st of January, we will have Kentucky Insider editor Tristan Ferris from this. I think is he from KSR?
No, he's not KSR. I don't think.
Sea Blue.
Huh?
He's from Sea Blue, right?
Yeah.
Sea Blue.
Yeah, Tristan.
He'll be on with us the 21st. I won't be here. I think that's on a Sunday. Brad will be doing that. So that'll be interesting to talk with him about how this Kentucky team is evolving with the freshmen. So that'll be something that we can look forward to coming up. And coming up in February, we're going to have a bunch of bracketologists come on with us for different weeks to break down the brackets.
I got a couple of NFL draft guys coming up too, end of February and in March. So we got some stuff coming up. I've got a couple of NFL draft guys to go over NFL draft stuff with us. So we got a bunch of stuff happening. I'm doing the basketball, women's college basketball, women's Kentucky basketball stuff now. So I may have to adjust some of these shows because they usually play like on Thursday and Sundays, and my shows are Thursday and Sundays. So whenever they have a home game, I may have to adjust.
Well, the thing is, we might have to start doing it on Friday nights, which might not be a bad thing.
Right. So this Friday night thing, we might start doing our game day pick'ems on Friday night, especially since college football's over with now anyway.
Well, so, the Thursday slates and stuff is not. There's not a lot to choose. Like you get the Arizonas, the Gonzagas.
Yeah.
But, there's not a lot of great cover. A lot of the Thursday games, I tell people that everybody complains about the Power Five not playing a lot of games on Thursdays, but a lot of those games are meant for the mid-majors because they get their week where they get to show out on the national stage and they get a lot of chances to prove that they belong. So that's a lot of the reason why there's not many games on Thursdays in the Power Five.
Yep. So we appreciate you guys being with us. It's kind of run a little long tonight, but we did have a whole lot to talk about with Saban and Kalen Deboer and the games that we picked and stuff. And
thanks, Josh.
Give you guys some great
coverage.
We appreciate everybody.
You kept Brad off track. You're going to have to stop it now.
Yeah, he had me laughing a couple of times. Josh did. So
Josh is a good guy.
Man, I appreciate it. We will see you on Sunday at 3:00 for our weekend wrap-up show.